Namaskar, Nileshok, in another episode. Let's look at what's the menu for today. All right, so let me share the presentation. Scientific criteria for a successful theory. Many times people think they know science if they have a degree in one of the scientific disciplines. These days, and by that I mean maybe for the last 70 plus years, and maybe even before, the word social science was coined. And yes, there are occasionally scientific studies in the field of social sciences. However, based on my study of this area over last 30 plus years, I rarely find a good, intelligent, creative research project. In many cases, it leaves much to be desired. The methodology employed is questionable. It leaves many areas error prone, and so on. Now, especially when a robust scientific approach is employed to Itihasa, and this is a very rare occurrence. And that's the challenge we are going to see. Again, I will use the dating of Mahabharata war as the intuition engine for our discussion. And you will find many individuals, majority, in fact 99% of the people who have done something as it relates to dating of Mahabharata, some of them at least may have good intentions, very genuine, very sincere intentions, but unfortunately it is not backed by even the minimal necessary scientific acumen or the logical reasoning foundations that is required, that is necessary in order to explore this subject. So let's look at what are some of the criterion that one must have in employing this scientific method to a subject like Itihasa, a subject like a civilization, and so on. All right. Now, once the work is done, and usually if we have to bring out the differences, but more than differences, if we have to find an objective criteria to decide which one of the two claims is better. Again, science is our friend, the scientific method is our friend. And over the last 10 plus years, I have made every possible attempt, okay, that is allowed by my circumstances, the time, the resources, the money, the willingness of other party to engage in a fruitful debate. I have made every possible effort to conduct these debates. Now, always the challenge is I am one of the individual participating into the debate, and that makes it actually more challenging. In any case, if you consider this entire subject of the dating of Mahabharata, those of you who already know, they won't be surprised, but those who don't know, they might be surprised, every reason to be surprised, that there are no debates on the dating of Mahabharata that are recorded and easily available to people where I am not part of it. Which is to say, almost there is a hesitation, resistance for majority of the Mahabharata dating researchers to participate in a debate. Now, this is indeed a food for thought. Why would that be? but that's not what we're going to discuss today. Just let me share some of the debates or close to a debate, not the ideal way I would have loved to have it, where people truly embrace the Vijnana Buddhi, the Tarka Shastra, Tantra Yukti, empiricism, and discuss it. That has not happened to this day. But with every subsequent debate, the things are getting better. So it's not all bad news. My first debate, at least two people coming together discussing two different claims, that happened with my good friend Dr. Konrad Elst. I think this happened in late 2016. This was in New Delhi. All right, let me just for a second go and make sure I have got the right presentation. Okay. And it was a good debate. I will encourage all of you to watch this. It is available on the YouTube via Pragyata, maybe available through somebody else. But if you just search with Oak Elst debate or Mahabharata dating or something like that, you should able to find this link. And we had a good time. And I'll leave it to the expertise, to your expertise in Vijnana Buddhi, Tarka Shastra, Tantra Yukti, to decide. You can reach your own conclusion. That's the idea behind this debate. Many times people ask, so who won? And so what's the final conclusion? That would be fabulous if we can reach this stage. And I'm confident one day we might. I said might. I'm confident and I might. Well, because, it takes two, okay, to tango, or, two hands to clap, and so on. So that depends on the maturity of Mahabharata dating researchers. In any case, this was a good debate. And so in the meantime, or for now, we have to be content in saying that the viewer, the observer of these debates, she must reach their own conclusions. Because if you are looking for two people finally agreeing, one person accepting the defeat, the other person, that other person's date is now being accepted as legitimate, and if you want this as something that you think should happen every time, then I would say you are extremely naive. Probably you don't understand the human mind and how individuals deal with even intellectual defeat. Okay, physical defeat is one thing, but even intellectual defeat. All right, so this was my first debate that was recorded with on the dating of Mahabharata, and that was with Dr. Konrad Elst in late 2016. Then in 2020, this took a lot of effort, I'll not go into those details, but we had a 3-part debate. Actually, we had planned for 4, but then the time was running out, so we kind of stopped somewhat in between. And that was not a bad thing, because I realized where my opponent was going with it, and we were not going to accomplish much more. But frankly, this 3-part debate is an eye-opener. Again, in order to truly enjoy, comprehend, and able to draw tremendous learnings and insights, you need to study some stuff on your own. Just watching is not going to do it. You need a good foundation into our Darshana Shastra. You have to have a decent understanding of a Mahabharata astronomy evidence, and also very beneficial if you go through at least 10-15 different books of Sir Karl Popper. Okay, then you will truly understand the nuances of this particular 3-part debate that was with Dr. Manish Pandit, who does not have his own date per se, but he is defending the very old claim of Professor K.S. Raghavan, made in 1969, and kind of it went dormant, you can say, until it was sort of picked up by late Professor Narari HR in like some 25 years ago. And anyways, I'll not go into the details, but instead of realizing the blunders of Professor K.S. Raghavan, uh, Professor Narari HR continued with his own blunders, and Dr. Manish Pandit is gloriously carrying that blunder tradition forward. But this is indeed eye-opener debate, 3 parts. I would encourage all of you to watch it. This is part 1, this is part 2, and this is part 3. Recently, on the HyperQuest platform, I had another debate with Sri Vedvir Aryaji. And as I said, with time, with every subsequent debate, because I do try to make some more additional demands and constraints how the debate should be done. Still, I cannot say I have my desire fulfilled the very methodical way I would love to either participate like what I have into any debate, or frankly even actually conduct a debate. Now if I want to conduct a debate, the challenge is I need two individuals for something else or any subject, including Mahabharata dating is fine, but I am not part of them, okay, at different dates, and they are debating, and I would love to facilitate and moderate, to put forward an illustration as to how to conduct a proper debate. And this is what my desire is, what my hope is. Now, whether that becomes a reality, that depends on many factors, so we will leave it at that. The debate that I had with Vedvir Aryaji, as I said, over time, like beginning with Dr. Els, it's getting better and better, and there is a huge room for improvement. So we are nowhere close to the desired level of sophistication that I would like to see anyways. This was a good debate. It's on HyperQuest, conducted, facilitated by Vishal Chavrasiya ji, and I would encourage all of you to watch it multiple times, all of these guys if required. To that mix, I also want to add one panel discussion that occurred at the International Waves Conference in Dallas, Texas in 2018. And if you see in the picture, I am to the extreme left, then followed by Professor and Dr. Shashi Tiwari, followed by Dr. Raj Vedam, who actually facilitated this, and to his left, okay, is late Professor Narari HR. And then the extreme right is Professor and Dr. Subhash Kak. So this was a panel discussion, kind of slightly turned into a debate, and that's usually they can be. It remained at a superficial level, but still worth watching, absolutely worth watching. I want you to do it, and the same rules apply. Use your Vijnana Buddhi, Tarkashastra, Tantra Yukti to reach your own conclusions. Okay. With that, I want to put forward what is the scientific criteria to decide which one is a better theory. Okay, to understand the truth content of a theory. This one is the doubt clearing machine. We start with a problem. In this case, when did the Mahabharata war happen? Then in order to solve that problem, we put forward a proposal, a hypothesis, okay, the prameya. And once we set this up, like think of this as a theory, not in the sense of it's been established, but it's been proposed. But that theory, as Einstein says, tells us what to measure. It tells us what can be measured. It tells us what can be observed. That is not to say you cannot observe other things, but a statement of a theory decides what is inside the scope of investigation, what is outside the scope of investigation, and that's our evidence. Okay, so I'll not go into the definition. On next page we will cover some different definitions, and once we have this evidence, we have to find a way to objectively test it, that is that pratyaksha, and then testing it individually if that's appropriate, testing it as a group of evidence if that's appropriate, eventually bringing it all together, leading it to a final inference. if we succeed, then we have something. Whether we might have a range, we might have a specific year, and depending on our ability, but also the availability and the quality of our data and our ability to empirically test it, we may even have a specific month, specific days, and so on for the events of a specific historical event such as Mahabharata. And in the process, of course, we take a lot of knowledge for granted, and it's important to state it. Okay, now any of these five things can be questioned at any time: before, after, in the middle, and a good researcher will do it himself or herself. Now, if somebody, and there are many in this space, very carelessly, casually, deliberately, okay, for any non-scientific, unscientific reasons of their own, choose to ignore any of these steps, guess what? Sometime that blunder can continue as if like some celebration for some time, but eventually it gets caught. So simple rule is, if you are not critical of your own theory and the evidence and how you have objectively tested it, someone else will. So it is a lesson for all existing but also new coming researchers to keep this in mind. Now look at the prameya and what is our objective, or how do we approach this. So yes, there is a doubt clearing machine, but somebody can always play games with it. So then the question comes, what is your objective? Why are you doing this? Is it for a quick popularity? Is it for some monetary gains? Is it for your own excitement? You have to decide. Or in the ultimate search of the truth, what is the rationale for you doing this? And Mundaka Upanishad can be our friend, can guide us, help us. But it's up to us to decide whether we want to take this help. It says, Satyena labhyas tapasa yesha atma. To know the ultimate reality, the Atma, the Paramatma. That's why this everything that we appears to do. This is the position of a mumukshu, or a seeker. And what is the way to that? Way to know the ultimate reality is the path of Satya. Okay, if you follow that, there is a chance of you knowing Atma. And how are you going to walk on this path of Satya? Samyak jnanena brahmacharyena nityam. In this case, samyak in the sense of a balance, a objective attitude, brahmacharyena in the sense of tapascharya. And if you do this, then what is a possibility? Antasharire jyotirmayo hi shubro. Just as a metaphor, I'll give an example what the sculptors say. Say, for example, Michelangelo making his famous David, or any other sculptor. And many times you would have heard this, they will say, well, how did you make this such a beautiful statue or something? And they say, well, it was there. I just removed the unnecessary parts. Now that is their humbleness, of course. But my point is, think of this as a antasharire jyotirmayo hi shubro. If you remove the debris, okay, the Atma will become visible. And that has to do with us, just like in our ordinary scientific, not ordinary, scientific language, what we call signal to noise ratio. Antasharire jyotirmayo hi shubro, the truth, the reality pops up. Okay, the signal, okay, that becomes visible. And therefore, what does he say? Yam pashyanti yataya kshina dosha. Because your error, okay, that goes down and it's minimized. The signal to noise ratio. Noise is your error. You minimize the noise, you improve the signal, and you get to know the truth, or the closest approximation to the truth. This is how beautiful a wonderful summary of modern science, or as rather scientific method, is embedded in this shlok. Now, is this the only meaning of it? Of course not. Every shlok rather, not meaning, every shlok can be interpreted in many different ways, even broadly speaking, at least in three different ways. Okay, Adhyatmik, Adibhautik, Adidevik. Okay, this is one way that we get insights, additional insights from Upanishadic wisdom such as this. The next shlok, many people would know this word because this is the Brida Vakya for Bharatvarsha, India. Bharat, Satyameva Jayate. it comes from here. This is coming from Mundaka Upanishad. Satyameva jayate nanrutam satyena pantha vitato daivayana. Okay, the path of the truth is the path of the gods. Okay, and it's long, it's bright, it's beautiful, it gets wider as you extract more and more truth about this prakriti, about this creation and whatnot. Okay, and I'll skip the next two lines just to manage time here. Okay, coming back to the statement of a theory, the prameya, the hypothesis. Okay, how does a clearly stated theory, a hypothesis, look like? Well, there are many requirements, but the two obvious and easy to state requirements are that it must be generic in nature, that is to say, it must be universal in nature. Now, this can be a long 1 hour, 2 hour, a day long discussion what is meant by generic or universal. But instead of going into that discussion, I would like to just give you a few examples and see if that helps you understand what is meant by generic and universal. For example, what was the Ptolemy's theory going back, say, about 2000 years ago in the Western world? Okay, not quite Western world, the Egyptian, Greek world eventually, that was absorbed by the Western Europe as if it belonged to their civilization. We will not go into that debate here. What is Ptolemy's theory? Earth is at the center and everything else revolves around it in a circular orbits. And believe me, Ptolemy thought even the stars are revolving around the earth. Okay, we will not go into that discussion any deeper than this. Now, fast forward by about 1500 years, this period is considered the very black time. I don't know what's the word. Okay, like not very intellectually rewarding time in the life of areas west of India, you can say, west of influence of Indian civilization. So you can consider possibly the Mediterranean, the Egypt, and all the way to England and Ireland and so on. Okay, so then Copernicus comes on the horizon there, and he put forward a theory, a hypothesis that's exactly opposite. When I say exactly opposite, only to the extent it relates to the who is at the center. Okay, he said sun is at the center and planets revolve around it in circular orbits. Okay, and this is known as the Copernican revolution. That started the journey of modern science. Now, Kepler went one step further. He said, yes, sun is at the center and planets revolve around it. That's also true, but not in circular orbits, but in elliptical orbits. And something fascinating happened. The requirement for many elliptical, many ecliptics, sorry, I'm saying wrong, not elliptical, not ecliptic, the epicycles, the requirement for epicycles and lots of adjustments in order to simulate the movements of the planets that were required in Ptolemy's case, but also even in the Copernicus case. Now, when we came to Copernicus, something good happened. The number of epicycles required to describe the motions of simple 5 planets together, they had added up to about 70. And when Copernicus turned this and put sun at the center, they went down to about 34. But the real wonderful stuff came with Kepler. As soon as he put forward this theory of elliptical orbits, all the epicycles instantaneously disappeared. That is to say, the necessity of the epicycles to explain the positions of and the movements of the planets just gone. Okay, you could explain it without them. So it was another revolution. Not many people know and not many people talk about it. So then Newton comes on board and takes 3 laws of Kepler's and assigns them the mathematical formulae. So 2 inertial bodies in space have attractive force between them, and he writes the formula, the inverse law, and so on, inverse law of distance. Just to jump and give you, not in the sense of cosmology or planets, but so that while you are thinking how a generic and universal statement of a scientific theory looks like, you will able to say this. When that applied to Itihasa, understanding the antiquity of Itihasa, he said descriptions. I said descriptions of Mahabharata text are descriptions of Mahabharata times. All right. And if we go further and let's say do that to specifically the astronomy evidence. Now, it doesn't have to be, but that's how only using astronomy evidence I came up at 5561 BCE. You cannot come to such an accurate year using any other type of scientific empirical evidence. The only evidence one could use to arrive at a specific year is astronomy evidence. So suppose we have to make it even more specific, and there's a reason why I'm showing you number 5 and number 6. Both statements are actually generic and universal. Granted, number 5 is more generic and more universal because it's not specifying a type of evidence like astronomy evidence. But suppose you are saying astronomy descriptions or astronomy evidence, that's fine. But now, are we deliberately taking out certain evidence or putting additional constraints? The answer is no. We are saying all astronomy descriptions of Mahabharata text are descriptions of Mahabharata times. If there is astronomy description stated in the context of a Mahabharata war in the Mahabharata text, yes, it is the description. It is to be considered as a description of Mahabharata times. Okay. 7. Surya Siddhanta, like myself, along with my co-researcher Rupa Bhattiji, we have done multiple projects together, research work in multiple areas. One of the paper we presented at Oxford International Conference, I think it's called Coffee Table Conference, 9th Coffee Table Conference in 2018. I presented another paper also on Ayurveda, again the dating of Sushruta, but that was with another individual, Sanket Kulkarni. But this one was on Surya Siddhanta with Rupa Bhattiji. And so what is the theory? What is the hypothesis behind it? It's the hypothesis is specific Surya Siddhanta descriptions point to their specific epochs when they were updated. Okay, and you can read those descriptions, watch those videos, and so on. Number 8. Now this is referring to Valmiki Ramayana evidence. Now compare this with number 6. Okay, all that I have changed, frankly, is instead of Mahabharata, Valmiki Ramayana. Otherwise, everything remains the same. Astronomy descriptions of Valmiki Ramayana are descriptions of Ramayana times. Okay. Now, this is very important, guys. Before even we look at the actual evidence for each of the individual who is claiming a specific year for, say, Mahabharata, Ramayana, we'll stick with Mahabharata. Before even we analyze the evidence, you can simply ask these questions. Okay, for example, and that can tell you a lot about the nature of their work. Is it scientific? Is it logical? Let's quickly go through these questions. I have given 7. There can be many more, but definitely this is a wonderful list that everyone should internalize. And this is not limited to Mahabharata research. This is true for any research in any field, anywhere in the world, no exceptions. For example, the first question you want to ask, was the theory clearly stated? I have put this as the theory was clearly stated, and I can assert that yes, that is true. You saw this on the previous page, but that is absolutely not the case for the claim of Professor R.N. Iyengar, 1478 BC, Dr. Ashok Bhatnagarji for 1793 BC, late Prafulla Mendaki for 3009 BC, late Professor K.S. Raghavan for 3067 BC, Dr. Jayashree Sarnathan for 3136 BC, and Sri Vedvir Aryaji for 3162 BC. Now, because I'm showing just a comparison, I had to take 3 or 4, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 claims. If I take more, then it becomes difficult to read. But frankly, this is actually true if you take additional 30 plus claims that exist for the year of Mahabharata war. And you see the same picture with yes for 5561 BC for all these 7 questions. We will quickly go over those, and no for practically all of them. In fact, if there was one yes, I would have included into these 6 or 7, but there is none. Interestingly, okay, yeah, interesting, sure. Let's look at the next one. Avoided cherry picking of evidence. Only I can honestly say that yes, I avoided cherry picking of evidence. None of these individuals that you see on the screen or the 30 plus, they are not there, will not able to say looking into your eyes that that's what they did. And if you have someone, let me know and I will tell you how he or she has done cherry picking of evidence. Number 3, use of auxiliary hypothesis but avoidance of ad hoc hypothesis. Watch my other separate session on this uh, difference between auxiliary hypothesis versus ad hoc hypothesis. So I'll leave it at that. Okay, auxiliary hypothesis is desired, good. Ad hoc hypothesis is to be avoided. Okay, but all of these guys, beginning with Professor R. L. Iyengar to Vedvir Aryaji to 30 additional ones, have embraced ad hoc hypothesis and have not ever succeeded in using auxiliary hypothesis. Number 4, consistency in evaluation of evidence and drawing of inferences. You can see the rest of the table, it remains same actually. Number 5, independent validation of background knowledge. Number 6, evidence and testing remains free from falsification. Is your theory falsified? And again, I'll do some other time an episode discussing corroboration and falsification, but more specifically say non-corroboration and falsification. What's the difference? Again, just like it's distinct, but it's also subtle. It's just like there is a difference between auxiliary hypothesis and ad hoc hypothesis. However, there are a lot of prima facie lot of similarities. That is also true with non-corroboration and falsification. However, there is a distinct difference, and we will discuss that in another episode, separate episode. Number 7, objective testing of the evidence. Did you objectively test it, or you just talked about it and did not do anything? Okay, and that's the scenario here. This is what you can do without actually getting into the nitty-gritty details of the evidence that is there in the Mahabharata text, okay, and its analysis. You can just look at this and reach tremendous conclusions, and of course then we can actually get into the actual evidence. There is a much more evidence than what I'm showing you here with these 11 points. Okay, but again, this is for the sake of brevity. Okay, and what I have included here is what is considered a crucial and a clinching evidence. Again, what is crucial evidence? What is clinching evidence? I think I have created many talks on this in the past. Do watch those, but if I see the need for it, I will create future ones. A/B observation. No other person is successful even bothered to test it. Now, some people have created created humor and made an ass of themselves. Okay, and I would say at least 3 or 4 individuals are here on this particular table, but there are many more who are not mentioned on this table. Bhishma's duration of greater than 95 days. Now, Vedvir Aryaji, well, he struggles to get to 95, and I don't understand why a simple addition should be a problem. But at least he has reached more than 88 days. And the other folks, they are simply mute. They are simply mum. They dare not open their mouth. The names that you see here about this exact duration of Bhishma on the bed of arrows, or continue to stick to their wrong duration. Why? Because they have understood their defeat. So rather they just continue to stick to what they have, like somebody, hugging at the straw. The person is getting drowned in water, and the straw is not going to save them, but that's what they have got. At least they have this emotional comfort that they're still hanging on to what they consider the truth, the straw. That's what they're doing at. Okay, anyways, next one, destruction of Krishna's Dwarka 36 years after the Mahabharata war. Tremendous impressive oceanography evidence that supports 5561 BC, and lo and behold, actually it decisively falsifies all other claims, period. No ifs, no buts. And this is not astronomy evidence, guys. This is archaeology, oceanography, carbon dating. Many people don't even understand what the hell is carbon dating. The many, I don't mean the researchers, I don't mean Mahabharata dating researchers, the people who ask. And so, do you have any carbon dating evidence? That's the typical question I get when I give a lecture. And I say, what do you mean? Have you read my works? Do you understand what carbon dating is? Okay, this is the kind of ignorance, guys, we have to get over. Okay, number 4, evidence of Y chromosomes bottleneck. Fortunately, many other individuals are making YouTube videos based on this research of mine. I mean, the genetic research is not mine. This is done by Monica Carmin and a team in 2015, and it's many folks are coming forward and presenting it, and do watch those videos. 100 plus descriptions of river Saraswati of Mahabharata times again beautifully corroborates a time period of 7000 BCE through 4500 BCE. Okay, that's why it fits only for 5561 BC. 40 plus more descriptions. Very decisively, the phases and positions show that the Kartika Amavasya is the first day of the Mahabharata war. Now, some of these individuals, for example, take Vedvir Aryaji, he has taken Kartika Amavasya as the first day of war. So, in that sense, the 40 descriptions of the moon would apply. Only challenge is, he has not taken those 40 descriptions, and you have to go and ask him why he has not. Okay, and you're going to find a lot of interesting answers there. Then there are multiple descriptions of the planets. Okay, and you can see the scene. There are many additional descriptions. I have not taken them here for sake of brevity. Okay, now the same evidence. Now, exactly what is Arundhati Vasishta giving, or Bhishma duration of Sharashaya of 95 days is giving? That is given in the second, or rather the third column here, which says implication for Mahabharata dating. It gives you the upper and lower limits in many cases, and in certain cases it gives you the specific year. For example, if you look at the 8 descriptions of Mars from Mahabharata text, they are only going to take you to 5561 BCE. But at the bottom, beginning 13 through 18, the evidence that you see highlighted in yellow is the evidence from outside the Mahabharata text, and empirical evidence, but on something else, not related to evidence that is internal to Mahabharata text, but in the context of Mahabharata, and that also points to 5561 BCE. Okay, which is, all of this evidence goes against, and because it's a crucial and clinching evidence, most of it, not all of it, but most of it falsifies all the other dates. Now, after we do this analysis, we can, just like we ask certain questions about the analysis before we looked at specific evidence, now that we have looked at specific evidence, we can ask another set of questions, very important. Let's quickly look at that. Theory makes more precise assertions, okay, than other theories. Only 5561 BC can claim that yes, their theory, my theory, that means, makes more precise assertions. Only 5561 BC can assert that more precise assertions are made. Okay, only 5561, my claim, myself, yours truly, can assert that it takes into account and explains more facts. It explains the facts in more detail. It passes the test which other theories, other claims fail to pass. It suggested new experimental tests not considered and imagined by other individuals and therefore other theories. It, that is to say, my work, suggested new experimental tests not even applicable to other theories. And my claim passed these new experimental tests discussed in number 6 and 7. Also, did it do anything more, such as unifying and connect various either to unrelated problems? The answer is decisive yes. And with time, I'm going to discuss each of this row, okay, in more detail in future episodes. And the last one, the truth content but not the falsity content exceeds that of the other. Only 5561 BC can claim that. This has to do with verisimilitude score, also known as truth likeness score, which is a measurable scientific criteria for comparison of two different claims or multiple different claims. Okay, and are we done? Well, if you can achieve what we just covered so far, is by itself a tremendous progress. But there is more. Are these claims leading to growth of knowledge? Because ultimately, the idea behind a theory, idea behind a model is that it is useful for the future. Okay, and in that context, how these claims stand up? Well, only my claim can say that this theory, new theory in the sense my theory, astronomy descriptions of Mahabharata or descriptions of Mahabharata times or descriptions, astronomy descriptions of Valmiki Ramayana or descriptions of Ramayana time, this theory, okay, actually and shown as a valid theory, explains fact explained by previous theories, which is to say we have to preserve the successes of previous theories. Now, the theory also explains facts not explained by previous theories, and that's a aha moment. But number three, the new theory explains facts that falsifies other theories. Now, that is another aha moment. Number four, overcome theoretical difficulties. For example, the need for the invoking of ad hoc theories, ad hoc hypotheses. For this, I would encourage everyone to read books by late Dr. P.V. Vartak, especially for Mahabharata, because the year he claimed and including the 18 days are exactly same as mine. In fact, I borrowed from him, you can say. On the other hand, all the pre-war instances as well as post-war instances, including Bhishma Nirvana, his dates are wrong. Okay, so I want you to see that and see the differences, how he was forced to make many ad hoc theories which eventually brought him in trouble, in the sense of that's what led him to some of the wrong dates for pre and post war, and frankly even the 18 days of the war, which is to say he got the correct answer by following the wrong interpretations. Again, you can see the details in my books, but in order to appreciate those details, you have to also read Swayambhu by Dr. P.V. Vartak. Okay, it's an amazing book. I would encourage everyone to read it. Next one, theory, simple, testable, and new and powerful unifying idea. Okay, go and ask other individuals what is their theory. That's where you are going to stop, guys. They don't have a theory. This is how pathetic, lousy, okay, situation we have in this area of the dating of Mahabharata. Okay, next one, independently testable, new and testable consequences. Are there any new consequences that we could test? By luck, I could actually. This is another big aha moment, and the last one is even the aha square moment. And such new predictions actually come out to be true and valid. I have shown that that is the case. Okay, again, I will be going through each of these rows through the different slides and showing you examples of that and doing a comparison when I can with other claims. Many times the other claims, their structuring, their formatting is such a lousy, pathetic, unscientific, and illogical that even a comparison, even to show that why they are bad, is not even easy. Okay, so therefore I said whenever possible I will do that. And with that, I'm done. Okay, these are the books that, guys, if you don't have them, you want to grab them. If you have them, you want to read them. If you have already read them, you want to reread them. Within India via Subbu Publications, outside India, rest of the world via Amazon. And if you can read Marathi, this is a small great book, about 12 plus essays on ancient Indian astronomy written in Marathi. They are being translated in English and Hindi and other languages. Wait until the announcement comes. And of course, my original 3 books, they have been translated in few languages. They are being translated in multiple other languages at its own pace. This one is the Marathi version for the historic Ram as Aitihasik Ram, and you can just scan the code and order it. Okay, and I think that's it. With that, I am going to go back and let me know, write comments, write additional ideas. Definitely ensure before you suggest things that you have had a chance to read my books, read my blogs, watch my good number of other videos, so you know what is already been done, so that you are not suggesting something that I have already done. If you suggest something that's been done or that is not even possible, okay, which is to say shakya prapti, the criteria of shakya prapti just does not apply well to that, then I'm going to ignore it. I'm not going to even respond to such suggestions, because certain work is expected on your part as well, okay, which is to say the evidence must be available and it must be empirically testable. It should be sensible, okay, then only you can do something with it. All right, thank you very much. Namaskar and see you soon.